Yo, this is Pixie. How you doing? Flying along. He just wanted to mention. I think last night I had quite an interesting dream. I was travelling. I could see a star map actually. I was travelling from somewhere far away from our star system actually. So I was travelling back to Earth, which is a bit weird, and I passed a load of little giant asteroids. So there's some massive ones out there. I'm trying to think of what the distance is, because it's not. I can see the star, and that represented where he was, and it was like a blue line when I was travelling. And so I travelled from somewhere to Earth. So it's kind of like I become more conscious of the dream as I woke up, the sort of waking state I started going to. And then there was like 3 large asteroids. Then there was 2. Well, there was just one big fat one. I can't remember my mind. So I don't know what that means for us. And there was some other stuff. There was some alien stuff out there as well. It was there was 2 travelling in our sort of general direction. There was the 3. Then there was this giant blue disc shaped thing. And it was very strange because it looked like something from a Freemasonry type triangle point sort of thing they've got. The set square and the compass. And then behind that, there was something further down. It was more star-shaped, so I don't know. It's very an odd experience. So I travelled one way, and then I started waking up, or becoming more conscious, and so I decided to travel back, and that's what I saw. The meteorite closer to Earth is a different composition from the other ones. It had a kind of bluey, silvery grey, so like it might have more metallic elements in it, and the 2 ones further back were more round in shape and jagged. There was 3 together, and just moving around as a cluster. And I'm just trying to think of the distance, but it must be like a light year if such a thing exists. I don't really know, like most people, what space is outside of what we're told, basically. You know, it's sort of like if I said, oh, there's space up there, what do you think it is? Most people would say, well, I need to check in a book and I'll get back to you, sort of thing. Or some people might say, I don't know really, it's like a curtain of darkness, or they would try to rationalise it. I mean, if you took out all the information that you already know, and you had to come up with a different conclusion on something, that's probably the challenge. Think for yourself week, and then so what you do is that you try to find another explanation for something that isn't already talked about or out there, which a lot of people do. They come up with all sorts of things to fit their theories. That's quite normal, but not a lot of people do it around mainstream science, because it's like a religion. So it's, well, we believe DNA does this, and we're just made out of a strain of genes, and that there's a bunch of DNA and it's a junk DNA, because we don't honestly know what it is, but we're going to say it's junk because we can't say we don't know what it is. We just, because it would actually suggest we don't know that genes are, we think gene editing is about functions in the body individually, but it's a part of a code that forms all together, really. So it's much more complicated. So yeah, so that was interesting. So I had to check the space news and stuff, see what's out there. Unlikely I would add that information because it was too far out. I just try to compare it to the other star system. So it was like 20% of the distance, or maybe 15% of the distance between us and another star. I think. I don't know. It's very strange when you're trying to astral travelling. And yeah, I mean, it could be that the actual distance isn't as far as it appears. So it's going to go. We'll do is come across. Well, it's just we've sort of been taught to think in singularity because it's easier to explain. You know, this is the only dimension you live in. Now they see other dimensions, they don't know what that means. And it's a much more complicated picture. Because I wonder if the planet itself is just like a dimension. I mean, it's elementally based. It uses mathematics. There's ratio stuff into nature. Like the so-called Fibonacci sequence. I say it's so-called because it actually exists as older than Fibonacci. It's just somebody put their name to it, like Newton saying there's a gravitational force and it causes an attraction to a larger force. So that's not really anything out of the ordinary. It just, we didn't get deep enough into what that means further than that. I mean, I haven't read loads of work on Newton. You get told some bits and bobs and then you just accept it as a factual understanding. It's when you got to say to yourself, well, how does it work? And then what people don't do is they don't actually question the how things work. They look to criticise and say, well, you're wrong because I read somewhere else such and such. And it's not really helpful. It just puts them below the thinkers really. It's like, well, I can support somebody else's science, but I can't support my own thinking. Or I haven't bothered. I've just used my education to remove free thinking. So yeah. Anyway, this is Pigsy sign off. I'm trying to think of anything else to talk about. Not really anything amazing out there at the moment. It's all pretty quiet. Well, there is other things like fake foods. That's quite freaky. I was watching something on fake foods, and this is why you need to grow your own, because I mean at the moment they cut back on or put controls in place around medicinal plants. It's not a threat to the system, but if loads of people said, oh, we want to go organic, but we actually want to grow our own, then there might become a bit more of a concern. And you'd have to buy approved seeds and things like that, or they'd just be bought out of the seed companies. And then you have these GMO type seeds, because everybody wants pesticides in their stomach and stuff like that are naturally added to the genes of them. So this is a freaky science. I think people have seen meat glued together, just get offcuts and glued together, but it's nothing really new. They did stuff like this with like reformed ham and so on. just have all the sort of the loose ends just get chopped up, and flavoured, and pounded and combined it into something else. No different than you know, if you're a vegetarian, they're probably doing some stuff with plants, finding ways just to shove things in there. Because I don't want waste, but reduce waste and see us as the waste, as sort of waste disposal. I mean, some places they consider this as the planet of the pigs. They see us as the pigs because we eat anything, and they're probably right. I mean, if you were to come from a different place, a different star system, and you turned up at bloody McDonald's or somewhere, and that you thought that was what typical humans are like, you just see people eating loads of Big Macs and stuffing and slurping shakes and things, and then they would analyse what they're actually eating, and they'd think, oh my god, it's only like 10% protein in there. What is this person eating? Like plastic food and things, which would be a bit bizarre, but that's quite true. And they got things with like the Chinese, and they inject like some type of silicon gel stuff into shrimp, so they can make them way more to sell them more. So I think what we need to do as people is just move on from the capitalist stuff. So yeah. It's interesting to think how far back this goes. This is the industrial complex. Everything for profit. That's probably their motto. I can't go through. Right. Then there's the military side of things, the military complex, and what is everything a weapon? Look at the potentiality for everything to have a military application. So it depends where you are, which industry you sit in, but everything's an industry. I mean, I do care-related work, and when it comes to like, you know, you can have a client suffering because they can't cut their fingernails, and I can't cut them because it's somebody else's job, you know, somebody else's work, basically. A bit like if I want to cut someone's hair, had their consent, even if I probably just get them and give them a crew cut, they would, I'll be breaking rules because there's a hairdressers, and they pay insurance, and they do this and that, and it's all this cartel type stuff. I mean, my role is just to push the drugs, make sure people take their drugs and comply with the doctors and stuff, and then do things to make social services look good, like get them to walk around more or whatever, or engage their social interests, and then you just take them away from wherever they are, sort of thing. So that's why everything's become an industry. It's these signs are more and more, and even when people get ill, there'll be people coming around telling them what to do, or pushing for these type of assessments on people. And everyone's got to add something to the system. So even if there's nothing wrong with someone, somebody might make something up because they've got a quota to deal with. That's why I've started to avoid going to the dentist. I went to the dentist for a bit, and then I just started drilling away at my teeth and telling me that that it needs some work done here and there, and infections. And then I just basically discovered bicarbonate soda. If you use that on its own, in a pure state, just put it on the brush your teeth with it. That it gets rid of the 99.9% of bacteria in your mouth, and change the environment that bacteria can thrive in. Without bacteria, you don't have any problems. So the tooth can heal itself, but you have to remove all the bacteria. just our diet tends to be not so great, and there's stuff put in there. I would be surprised if sometimes the dentists put bacteria into people's mouths. They just use contaminated these horrible instruments like a point on it, and I don't know what they're doing with it. They start forcing it into your tooth, get it through your enamel. Then they say, oh, it's soft or something. I said, yeah, but you just forced it into my face, and it wasn't cool. So yeah, here's one saying to look out the old industries. And then I've come across something else to do with 5G networks and this new technology. They're going to use milliwaves, probably these milli-type waves. So they've got is we use a frequency band, and the other bands are not really fiddled around with too much. Possibly because the other bandwidth gets through most things. A milliamp has problems where it can be absorbed by solid objects like trees and buildings. So the energy, a lot more of the energy is going into objects around it. So looking at ways around that, and I come across this video, and it said about that basically the weather modification helps them as well. You can control the rain, then you can ensure the signals, because also rain disrupts it as well, disrupts the milliamp signals. And there's other technology. You've got like beam forming technology. We have masts. So because they're localized and they can get disrupted by things, it means putting lots of masts around the place, and it's no different than what they do with Wi-Fi. You know, I could be driving along the road and suddenly my phone said it's picking up someone's Wi-Fi in their house, and there must be a massive radius. Originally, some of my gizmos, they just couldn't reach that far, and the signal wasn't great. But then I noticed the range increased. I didn't change the hub; it suddenly increased the range. So whether it was upgraded internally or did something, it boost the signal. I don't know. Or it could even be the new devices I've got are giving out energy themselves. So they wanted to do with the 5G is have it localized to like stick it on lampposts and stick devices around, have them aimed at different spots, so you can try to get around the trees as much as possible. Then you've got a beam forming thing that basically projects, so it picks up an incoming signal, it projects it back to it, and the beamform, it could be used as some form of particle weapon. I mean, if you stuck something, let's say, to someone you don't like, you could have it near their house or down the road, but if you have it at an angle where they can shoot a beam over to them, what you could do is just project a constant microwave over to them or something, while they're laid in their bed, just be microwaving them all night long. And creepy things like that you can be done to people. So there's the milliwaves, and they've got these, I say, they've got these other technologies. I haven't figured out how to make them work yet properly. I'm sure they probably have got a workable model, but it's when we go up to the other Gs that it probably, you know, it could do all sorts of things. Once they get into a frequency where it disrupts the DNA, they can get, well, the other idea was to get cancer off the ground. I've seen I met a scientist, and he said that a pharmaceutical company came up to him, one of these guys from it, and he basically said, how can we turn cancer into a chronic disease? And it was kind of, you know, how do I get something that I can manage, I can push my drugs on? This is creepy. You don't want to eradicate it, it wants to make more money out of giving people stronger type of cancer drugs and poisoning people with things. It's just nuts. That's why I think fasting's good. My guts have been a bit funny recently. I think it's because when I visited someone, they asked me to try something out, and it was like it was something that was out of date, like a can of fruit that was out of date, and it tasted like bloody tin. I didn't notice it at first. I tasted the fruit and I thought, well, it's alright, it's been in tins for ages, it seems to taste alright, like it's fermented. But actually what had happened is that the metal had leaked into the syrup, and yeah, that wasn't so tasty. And then it's given me this thing where it's affected my my nerves at the moment, I think. Either that is one of my plants, it could be my datura plant. But I haven't really made much physical contact with it, and you're fiddling around with mushrooms, I guess. So I might mention, sorry if I mentioned that in another video, I mentioned about tin and stuff. Yeah, it's just dodgy old things. But coming back to other things about heavy metals, is with Wi-Fi, could be an increase of autism. And the reason is if you put heavy metals with things in people's food, attached to the nervous system, then they're being disrupted and stimulated by Wi-Fi. And if you've got milliamps that go into living things but can't actually come out of them, the frequencies absorbed by the water in your body, it disrupts that. It can further disrupt things. I don't even know what. Well, basically, I know if you take out someone's brain fluid, they would instantly die. It doesn't matter if they got the brain in place. If you take all the fluid out of their brain, they just die. So very much the fluids are important, and there was stuff to do with water memory, experiments around ice and stuff. So my DNA's sending off a signal into the fluids that are in my body as well. If this signal comes along and alters that, it could disrupt the whole pattern of my being, to be honest. Which would be too nice. So yeah, there's lots of stuff. There's a lot of conspiracy stuff, obviously, as well. I just got to keep that in mind. But if the technology you think's dangerous, don't use it, or limit your use to it. You have to use things like a technological detox, and just turn things off. Like you don't need Wi-Fi at night if you're asleep. Don't have it on. Things like mobiles, even if you put it on from an airplane mode, I'm sure they're still connected. Like have things come up on the phone, it just doesn't tell me about it, it doesn't ping. That's all, it just says, someone's made a comment, someone's done this. So I think the phone's still actively connecting. And receiving, and sometimes I see these I start seeing like red flashes at night, and strange things like that. I open my eyes at night and see these little flashes just to see if there's anything in the room with me. It's not strange. But the little flash, it could also be energy from something like a mobile phone or some electrical stuff. And it's just discharging the energy, and it's just caught me in a part on my nerves, or maybe like I say, mentioned about the heavy metals. If they are in your brain and they're in places, then a signal will cause it to stimulate. So disruption, it's a sleep disruptor really. So I might have to put a big foil out on when I go to bed or something. Or maybe you can use Velostat, and what I do is you just put it so it goes round the bed and just protects your head, or put it around a pillow and stuff like that. It just I think it basically scrambles the signal. The signal came into it. So that's it. Frankenstein food. Mentioned about asteroids. I've talked about dream stuff, and I've also covered 5G, which is a bit freaky. And I've probably suggest you should grow something of your own food, because even vegetables can be fake. They can just like make something look like a vegetable. It's creepy as hell. Like cabbages, fake cabbages. Just have a look at that on YouTube. There's a chap trying to set fire to there's a woman trying to set fire to a cabbage because it doesn't burn. Other cabbages do burn, so it's got something in it that stops it from dehydrating or something, and stops it from burning, which means it's some weird plastic. You don't want things that go into your food chain that you can't break down. It just mess your guts up, really. So yeah, on this jolly note, enjoy the day and have a great one, and speak to you soon.